Hey guys, welcome back to THI. It is your host, Rose, again. On today's topic, we are going to be talking about cults within the African community. If you know, you know. There's been a lot of people in our community who have been involved in cults, and there has been a lot of detriment that has caused to the community. And a lot of people genuinely go through religious psychosis, I would say. So today we actually have a guest here who's going to talk about her experience of being in a religious cult and what that did to her. Also for me, myself, unfortunately, I was in a cult for like 2 years, and that really destroyed how I view religion. And so on today's topic, we are going to dive on the impacts of cults. And it's really sad, but we have a guest here today who's going to share her story of being a cult and what that did to her life. So on today's episode, we are here with the one, the only Brisbane rapper, baddest rapper in Australia.
Wanna test me, wanna throw shots, no a nigga wanna vex me, wanna blow traps, enemies and frenemies, undo cats. It's another automatic switch on years.
Amari.
Hey guys.
Period. So Amari is a well-known Brisbane rapper. She's Burundian and Tanzanian.
Period.
Yes, get into that. So Amari, how are you? Thank you so much for coming onto our show today. It's amazing to have you here. And it's very unfortunate, you're in the African community, so I know you know what these cults really be doing. And so we are going to dive into that today. To begin with, I'd just like to get a bit of background knowledge on like how your life was, your life of faith growing up, about your spirituality before joining into the cult, as like your whole family, of course, and what religion looked like in your daily life when you were growing up.
Yep, so I basically don't remember my life before the cult.
Yeah.
But ever since I was in the cult, it just felt like, obviously you don't know you're a little kid, so you're not sure what's going on, and you're told and taught to believe in a God and taught Bible stories, like everything's just forced. So it's like you don't even realize that if it's like, you just, you grow up into it. So it did feel like I knew something was wrong, but I just thought it was the normal.
Yeah, so normal. Did your family go to church when you, of course you said you don't remember what your life was before you had joined the cult, so that could be like a trauma response.
Yeah.
But do you remember, did you guys go to church when you guys were growing up?
Yeah. All I remember is basically just a normal life with normal parents.
Yeah.
A family. We did go to church.
Yeah.
We went to this church called Rock Church. That's where it started, and then next minute we're in a cult. So.
And how old were you? How old were you guys when your family had gotten involved in this cult?
Yep. So I was around, because I came here when I was 1. So I believe I was around 2 to 3 years of age.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so prior to obviously getting involved in the cult, do you know, how did your family come across this cult, or was there a situation that led you guys to this path? Could you explain the before getting into this cult, essentially, what was it like, and how this cult found you guys? What headspace were you guys in? All the ins and outs of that.
So, I was born with sicknesses, a lot of sicknesses, and, it's Africa where technology isn't there to, figure out the type of sicknesses that you have. So I was born with sicknesses, and my mom kind of knew that my life was going to come to an end, because it just kept getting worse and worse. And at the time, she was smoking, drinking, but because of my condition, she kind of pulled away from that and said, to save my child, I'm going to have to strip from these things and find the Lord, actually look for Christ. So she basically stopped everything, started attending the churches in Africa. And during that moment, we were transitioning with the people that were helping us come to these Western countries.
Immigration?
Yeah, immigration.
You guys were immigrating to Australia?
Yeah, so we're in these camps. So then during all of that, that's when we were coming to Australia. So I was sick until I landed here. As soon as I landed here, I got better. That was what she told me. And she didn't understand. She was like, what? Anyways, yeah, we landed here, I got better, and she was like, you know what, I need to continue to look for Christ. I can't just stop here. So that's what led into us getting into a cult.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like essentially you were sick and you had said before like obviously like she was smoking and drinking, you said?
Yeah.
So I guess she was just using that as her way to let out her pain. So I would say you guys were in a vulnerable state at the time, you know?
Yeah.
So when you came to Australia, you got better. And do you feel like your mom had felt like God had answered her prayers essentially?
Yeah, obviously, because you see, with prayers, it's like manifesting. So, you know, she manifested that I get better, and during that process, we're coming into like a country where things are like well organized. It's not Africa. Like if things are clean, the air's clean. Like there's healthcare. So yeah, so that whole process, I think, made her feel like God did it. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like God healed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you felt like she kind of felt like she owed it to God
Yeah.
to give her whole life to him, like
Yeah.
after that, okay? And so like where did she come across this church? Was it like a community orientated thing? I know in Australia we're notorious. They have those, what are they called? Jehovah Witness that be knocking on them doors. Was it a Jehovah Witness situation or was it like?
Definitely something like that, yeah. She came across this lady who then preached to her, and then she got in.
Wow, and then the
Yeah.
next thing you know, your whole family was pretty much invested in this cult.
Yeah, we had dress codes, we had hair codes, like things were serious.
Okay, and essentially, obviously, like what had your mum probably had joined that cult from a place of like survival instinct and like an emotional trauma response. You know, she feels like she owes it to God. Is this cult like, is majority of the people in the cult from your community?
Yes.
So essentially, she also felt that sense of like belonging. I know like when a lot of, Africans migrate to like Western world countries and stuff, we tend to move closer to where our own people are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she felt connected as well. She felt a sense of like family and hope. Would you say that connection is what made it feel like, would you say that connection is what solidified like, okay, like I'm in the right place?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like with a lot of these African parents, they just follow roads and follow people in their community. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And so essentially when you had first joined the cult, everything was going well. Like everything was good. You also felt like a sense of community. I know you were young, but at the start it was all good because you guys didn't see the bigger picture, was it?
Actually, it did feel like a community. I felt good, but when I'm in spaces like school, like I knew I was different. I knew I wasn't like the other kids. Or we would attend the Sunday church because this cult was like every day. But then
7 days a week?
Yeah, 7 days a week, and then on a Sunday.
7 days?
Yep, 7 days.
You're talking Monday to Sunday?
Yeah, Monday to Sunday. And on Sunday, you can go to church. So you go to a church and then you go to this cult, which they call it.
Don't say the name.
No, it's fellowship. They call it
So
fellowship.
they'll do your fellowship, and then when would the actual service be, like the church service?
The church service would be in an if it's a weekend, it starts off like at 1, and if it's a normal working day, it's gonna start at 4. Yes.
Okay, and when did you start to feel like the leadership started to feel untouchable in your eyes? When did you start to feel? What were the essential red flags that you started to notice, but like kind of like pushed to the side?
Yeah,
and how deep would you say? Like how many years in? How many months did it take before you started noticing the red flags?
Yeah, so I started noticing the red flags when I was small, because like I couldn't talk to the other kids. Like I would go to a church or go to a school, and these kids have their hair done, braids done, and they look glamorous, their outfits are shining, and sometimes they wouldn't allow me to connect with the other kids. And at school,
as in like the church wouldn't allow you?
Yeah, they wouldn't. Like you
Okay, let's understand like how it works. How were they having an impact on your schooling life outside of the church?
They would teach us not to communicate with worldly, or everyone who's not a part of the cult is called they're called worldly people. That's what they're called.
And that's actually a phrase that a lot of cults use. Even in my experience of when I was in a cult, I had realized what they do is they convince you that other churches are a threat, or like in general, like the outside society is a threat. They don't know what's going on. We are the chosen ones. We are the superior. Jesus has chosen us. We know better. And so they convince their members and they convince the whole congregation that essentially it's dangerous to connect. and to have
Yeah.
that social life with other people outside, those people are stuck in their worldly ways. They don't know what's going on. And so you kind of feel low-key guilty. Did you feel like you felt guilty when you were, and how old were you at this point? Because you're in school.
Yeah. So I was at, let's say from 5, I felt really like, you know, sometimes I'll question, is this how life's going to be? Like, is this how I have to live? But, you know, you're a kid, so everything's like brushed off. You're like,
Yeah, but you know, it's like as a kid, like that should not be your view on the world. Of course, it's like how I'm seeing it from this point. It obviously looks like you were feeling suffocated.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you're thinking, is this how the world's gonna be? That obviously means like you feel you're feeling overwhelmed essentially.
yeah.
Okay, now I know that you had explained to me prior that there was a lot of level of different types of abuse that were used in this cult and in this church.
Yeah.
And I think at the, you know, when we are so convinced that we are chasing our faith and this is the truth,
Yeah.
sometimes we don't even realize that something is abuse.
Yeah.
We essentially see it as like, maybe I'm not being obedient. Because I know in my experience when I was in a cult, you know, when I was feeling overwhelmed, when it was very evident that I wasn't in a good mental state and I needed like essential help and stuff, I was convinced that it was my disobedience to my faith that was causing me to have those things. And so there's very different layers of abuse, you know?
Yeah.
So how did the leadership use God or prophecies to justify things that were morally wrong? And I know that a lot of cults operate in that way, where they do a lot of things that, or like they teach a lot of things that like morally they're so wrong, but they convince you that there's prophecies and there's different biblical things to justify that action. So how did that leadership use God or prophecies to justify things that you thought were wrong?
So especially, I found out, well, now that I know, obviously I found out at this age, but it was always about like, it's like they favored men.
Yeah.
It's just like the Bible, how like, you know, when you read the Bible, it's just men. So in this leadership, it's like they favored like men. So let's say I got molested, like, and I got, you know, they tried to attempt rape me. Like
They did?
Yeah, all of like a lot of the younger members, like a lot of these things were going on, and I could not speak out because I kind of knew that it's gonna favor the men. Like the men, they get treated differently. So I knew if I spoke out, it's gonna hit me harder. So even when they found out without me speaking out, it hit me harder. Like they got the bare minimum.
Oh my God, that is a lot. And obviously at that point you're so young.
Yeah.
And for you to obviously like internalize and see that in this space there's an aspect of like favoritism, and to experience something that horrific, and then also as a child be like, you know, I know that I can't speak out because this system that's built here justifies them. That is definitely something that I would say that is morally wrong. Because wow, did you ever like speak out to like, did you ever tell an adult and then it backfired?
I couldn't tell anyone. They found out themselves because my mom caught me while I was getting molested.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So I couldn't tell anyone, even if my mom didn't find out. Like,
what was her reaction when she had caught that?
she was very shocked. She was upset. She started yelling at me and she started yelling at the guy. But after that, she was like, she's taking it to the cult, to the fellowship, and to explain it to them. And after that, I got abused. Like if I talk about it, like I'm at the edge of like crying. Like it's just disgusting. I got stripped. I got beat, and the men, just like the Bible tells, when God blesses these men and they do cruel things and they get away with it and they get to live a life and the females have to obey. This was the life that I was living. Like I would get stripped, chili in my eyes. I would get whacked. I would go to grade 1 walking like this. Like I was walking like this in grade 1. Like imagine. And people.
So can I ask? Is this?
Yeah.
This is really obviously like this is really sad.
Yeah.
Was this like, of course, like okay, so your mom had essentially caught you being molested.
Yeah.
And she took it to the church, to
Yeah.
the cult. And their essential reaction was to blame you,
Yeah.
the victim, and you were being abused. Was this in front of like the congregation members? Can you give us like can if you're comfortable with it, of course.
Yeah.
Can you explain the situation, like how the cult members reacted to it, how the church reacted to it, and what you were made to do?
So they usually do this thing where like after the session or before the session, they address whatever matter's going on. So this was like, I think this was a different day. It was like mid-session. So my mom told them, obviously, the cult member, the head of the cult stood up, and then she started explaining what I have done to all of the members. So they would sit in this circle, right? Like everyone's sitting in this circle, and they would address it. And then if you were getting the punishment, you would go in the middle. So I got taken in the middle, stripped in front of men. There was men there. Like men were seeing my private parts from breast.
Like all the congregation members.
Yeah, there were men, there were females, there were elderly, there were children. I got stripped, everything out, from private part, everything. Like they were all seeing it. And they grabbed me. Even the men were on this. Like one of the guys grabbed me like from the top of my hands, and they would a woman would grab me from the bottom, and then they would get the stick and just go full on beating. And then they'll get chili. This is what's crazy. They'll get chili, slice it in half, and then put it in my eyes. They would tell me not to cry. How am I supposed to not to cry when I'm getting abused? Like,
and this is in front of all the congregation members.
Everyone, yeah.
And so what happened to the perpetrators?
What do you mean?
People who molested you, what happened to them?
Oh, nothing. They got bare minimum. They got 3 smacks on their
And
butts.
can I ask, like, while all this was happening, your mum was there?
Yeah, she was there. My sister, I don't recall seeing my sister there, but yeah.
Oh my God, that must have been like so horrific. And for that to be like in that position where it's like it's happening to you. Honestly, look, I feel like a lot of the times when these people are in these cults, they're going through psychosis, but I feel like a lot of these people also know what they're doing, because it's like, to me, you've just caught a child in an essay situation, and now you've just essayed them pretty much in front of the congregation members.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother case of essay in itself. Like that is, I'm really sorry for that you had actually experienced. I don't really have the words to even explain that, because that is so horrific. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's just so traumatizing, you know, that you can go through that, and to know that's like, these are people that are teaching the word of the Lord, and they're teaching, you know, like God is supposed to be a merciful God.
Yeah.
They're essentially using religion to commit atrocities. Like this to me is just weaponized religion.
And do you know what's even crazy?
Yeah.
Is the fact that they would normalize the beating and say, oh, well, God said we need to beat our kids to teach them. Oh, God said, I'm pretty sure they were referencing the Old Testament. You know, the Old Testament, it's a bit like cruel. They'll be like, oh, but God, you know, allows beating and stuff. So we have to do this to teach our kids. Like it's disgusting.
That is really, really, really horrific. And I don't mean to take you back, but do you remember how you felt in that moment? Like as a child? How old were you when this was happening? I
believe I was around like 6 to 7. I don't know. I don't quite remember, but I was very small as a kid.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That is really a lot. What were the rules that were enforced to keep their members silent? I know, like, with the way that cults operate, what they usually do is they find different tactics to silence you.
Yeah.
For you, to convince you. I know, like, for example, what you just stated right now with the old prophecy, with the Old Testament, that's them weaponizing the Bible to be able to commit immoral stuff.
Yeah.
So what were the rules that they kept to keep their victims silent from speaking up?
Worldly people, as I stated, you can't get close to any worldly people. Even if you get close to worldly people, there's certain things that you can't discuss with them. Like, your conversation has to be the bare minimum, like.
And I assume it's like isolation as well, because it's like, I feel like isolation is such a psychological tactic that really like messes up people's brains. Like when you're so isolated with a group of people who have a certain type of mindset and they only see the world in a certain type of way. Like you're obviously in this space with all these adults that are literally justifying committing essay.
Exactly, yeah.
Like you don't even, you think that this is the norm. You would think that this is the norm and you're isolated. So it's like, this is the only information and the only things that you're consuming pretty much. So it essentially becomes a normal thing, would you say?
Yeah, it definitely does become an everyday thing. Because as I said, it was 7 days a week. So it's taking up most of my life.
Oh my God, that I'm speechless because damn, you know? Okay, so like, I know you had explained that there was a lot of things that they do to weaponize. Like the main victims in this cult were pretty much the children and women.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting from this. How was the concept of submission weaponized against the women and the kids? Because I know you had explained that there's a certain way that they expect you guys to like to dress and to even with your hairstyle. So can you get into that?
Yeah, they were definitely, we had to wear long skirts, pleated skirts, and also our hair needed to be short, like shorts.
Are you talking like bold?
Like near bold, yeah.
Cause it's and is this like a church that like majority of a lot of the Burundis go to?
I wouldn't say majority. I would say like just a few.
Wow. And so you guys had to keep your hair short, like in a buzz cut.
Yeah, short.
So majority of your childhood, you had to keep your hair.
I was called a boy.
Oh my God, stop.
I was
so then
called
you were
a
literally
man.
being bullied at school too.
Yeah, I was getting bullied.
That's actually the cherry on top.
And they loved that. They loved the fact that that was how we were perceived because, you know, everything leads to a man, like hair. They believe that hair is something that attracts men. Like having your hair out, you're gonna attract men and stuff. So
it's really horrible. And it's
Yeah.
like, I can obviously see like, you've obviously like, you always have some like subconscious, and I think it's from a trauma response. It's really impacted the way that you view men. And I can see that from like the things that you say. Would you say that it has like impacted how you view men?
can you go into
Like for example, because it's like, obviously like a lot of like the abuse that were being done in your church, it was like a lot of men committing it. And then you also say that's like men were allowed to get away with like a lot of things and a lot of the rules were done to were done to like please the men. Would you say like would you say that like it like impacted how you view men? Would you say like it built an aspect of resentment? You started like hating men from like an early age?
I didn't hate men. What I hated was the way they treated them, like just the treatment that women get and men get. Like
So because it's like obviously they've this is the standard of how men treat women, and that's all you've seen. That was the standard that was set for you at that age because that was all you were exposed to pretty much.
Yeah.
So it obviously like it does subconsciously cause some type of like it does, you know, like it does impact how you do view men. Like
it didn't really impact mine because I was interacting with the other worldly people as they quoted.
So you were secretly
Yeah, it's school. We're going to school. We're going to
that's
like
cool.
primary school, high school. You're interacting with different types of men.
Yeah.
I just hated how like the standards the men like got. Like, do you get what?
Okay, would you say what about like in terms of religion?
With religion, I hated the favoritism. Like, it just felt like religion relates around men. Like,
Yeah.
So I didn't really hate men. Like, I didn't grow to hate
But you
men.
resented religion and like
Yeah, like I knew that things were wrong, and I just hated the fact that things were how they are.
Yeah, and it's really sad to say this because you say
Yeah.
like obviously at that time that you were still in school, so you were quite young.
Yeah.
Would you say that like your mom, because that was obviously like the adult figure in your life, and it's like she had joined the cult, so you guys essentially had no choice but to. I know that a lot of the times, our parents, a lot of these African parents, because they don't actually have the education that teaches them about, you know, cults and like mental health and all these things. A lot of them don't understand it. And, you know, as human beings, we want to feel a sense of belonging. So I don't think like your mom's initial thought that it was going to get to this point.
Yeah.
But I also feel like once she had joined this cult, they essentially become brainwashed. I feel like she had to have been experiencing some level of psychosis.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know that you've told me that cult it resolves around her life, because it's like, for her to see that happening to her child, you said that she had caught whoever was molesting you in the act. And she had seen that, but instead of her being able to obviously stand by your side, and obviously like I don't justify it on her end, it's completely wrong. But I guess I feel like, would you say that she was probably experiencing some level of religious psychosis?
Yeah, I believe that, because mom's really a quiet type of person. Like, she doesn't do too much interaction. She's also isolated, and I even feel like even if she wanted to speak up, they would threaten her. Like, she had to be...
They've installed fear into her.
Yeah.
They've installed fear into her, and it's like the fear of not belonging and the fear of like being exiled from the community.
Yeah.
It for her is a lot bigger. But do you know, when people get to that point, I genuinely don't feel like they're in tune with reality.
They're not.
When it's like, when it comes to a point where like their religion dictates every single aspect of their life down to their child's security.
Yeah.
I feel like this person must be experiencing some level of religious psychosis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it doesn't become healthy anymore. And it becomes really dangerous, because it's like, you're a kid, and it's very unfortunate that you had experienced these things, but it's like, if it wasn't for school, you had no escape.
Yeah,
if it was
couldn't.
because school exposed you to what normal kids were experiencing, that was the only thing that really made you realize, like, you know what, like, maybe what I'm experiencing is wrong. But for your mom, because she doesn't have any other external things that she goes to on a daily basis, because you said this cult is 7 days a week, she is with these people 24/7, consuming this information 24/7. She doesn't know any better.
She doesn't. And it's crazy, because like, when these punishments used to happen, it would get to a point where she would just look down.
Like, she couldn't even look at you?
She couldn't. She would just look down. And I was like, it hurts, you know? It's really painful, but growing up...
Would you look at her while you're going through
Yeah,
this?
I would look at her, and it gets to a point where, like, she would just look down. Like,
And she wouldn't look at you?
No, she wouldn't, because I didn't understand why, but, you know, now I understand why.
Yeah, when you grow up, yeah. Because she obviously, like, there's the guilt there that she feels.
Yeah, there's the guilt. But then, again, they installed fear into her.
Yeah.
Because even if she saw me get molested and she kept it to herself, they had these people who prophesize, you know, those people that tell the future or tell things that you're hiding.
Yeah.
We had a lot of them in the cult. So they will end up finding out somehow. Do you get what I mean? And that would bring her punishment also.
That would bring your mom punishment?
Yeah.
So adults had punishment?
Yeah, they had punishment.
What were their punishments?
Their punishments were like, they would get kicked out of not kicked out, like suspended from the cult.
Yeah.
Or they'll get shamed in front of all of the cult members, and they'll get talks. They had...
It seems like shame was such a tool that was used by this church of yours, man. Like,
I'm telling you, to enter the church, you had to stand in front of everyone. And mind you, these are Africans, so whatever you tell them, they're going to gossip.
Of course.
It's gossip, and it might even end up somewhere else. To join the cult, you have to stand in the middle and say all your sins until the last bit. Every sin that you've done in your life, you have to stand there and say it. If you don't say it, as I told you, there were people that saw the future, whatever they were seeing.
And did you feel like that was real?
Yeah, because it felt like, it definitely felt real.
Wouldn't you say, because it's like, obviously, like, everybody knows everything, and at the end of the day, we know they're going to talk.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you feel like information just gets around to them, they eventually hear, and they just say that they prophesized and saw it?
Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
Like, wouldn't you say, like, for example, because you're saying that you felt like their prophecies were real.
Yeah.
Well, you're in a church where it's like everybody's they're gossiping.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So wouldn't you feel like the information would just get to them through gossip, and then they'd be remix it and use it in a way to be able to like justify whatever? Yeah, I saw this.
I actually never understood that side of things. Like, I just never understood. Like, they would say things and
Yeah.
it felt true. Like it really felt true.
Okay, and it's like, essentially, of course, it's like when things got violent and abusive, how did the rest of the cult members act? Everybody essentially thought that this was okay
Yeah.
and this was a norm. So it's like, nobody questioned what was going on. Like, what are we doing?
If they tried to question, they would get spoken to seriously. Like,
And who was there one leader, or was like there was?
oh, you'll be shocked when I tell you it was a woman. It was a woman
Damn.
as a leader. When they say fear women, it's crazy. Fear women.
You're telling me this whole church is being run by a woman?
It was run by a woman. Yeah.
Damn. Mm-hmm. Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And when people go around and say God is a woman, I'm like,
oh my god,
that
that's
might be
insane.
true, yeah.
And so these rules of punishments and stuff, was she the one reinforcing them?
yeah.
Wow. And so it's like your pastor was a woman,
No,
or like the owner of the actual church.
So there's actually the church in Africa.
Yeah.
But she's the head of the Australian.
Yeah,
cult.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know you had mentioned to me that they do, this is so dodgy.
Mm-hmm.
It's low key, like, it's so dodgy. You had to explain. It's not even funny, but it's so dodgy. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, they're actually using religion to just do anything. You had mentioned that they do some like visa stuff to like.
Oh,
What is
yeah.
that about?
Oh my God.
What is that about?
I think this also runs in the African community too. But like they would, let's say you're of age. And when I tell you of age, 20, like
Yeah.
maybe even 18.
Yeah.
Because you know the Bible.
Yeah.
The Bible, yeah. So they would literally pick 3 guys from Africa. They will pick them from Africa. And they'll bring them in front of you. Like, for example, they tried to do that to my sister.
Like a pictures?
They picked 3 guys, bring pictures, and apparently these are the 3 guys God picked for you. So you have to pick one.
Oh my God. So not
Yeah.
only ruining your life in the present, trying to ruin your life in the future, like dictate your future.
And they get
Now-
a free visa.
And can I ask, so
Yeah.
these 3 men, are they members of the same church?
Yeah, in Africa, yeah.
And then what you would essentially have to do as a female here in Australia is sponsor them to come here.
Yes, everything was paid for. They'll even help you to pay for that man to come here.
And was there a lot of people that were successfully doing this?
Well, they tried on my sister. It didn't work. She ended up finding another guy that she liked.
That was from here?
Yeah, that was from here.
And how did that go down for her?
Oh, that was horrible. That moment of time. She went through a lot. She went through shame.
Okay, so when you reject the person, the 3 people that God has selected for you, and now you have to pick one, what would happen to you?
they'll kick you out.
And so your sister was exiled?
Yeah, you have to talk to the members of the church, the fellowship, and then you have to talk to the African members. So
Oh my God, you're gonna have to convince people
Yeah.
from the diaspora and back home that what? That I'm sorry I chose this guy, or what?
yeah, you have to explain why you've decided not to go with the selection, why you chose this other guy. Like, you have to be explained. Sometimes you'll get kicked out, sometimes you'll get shamed. My mom started disowning my sister, started locking her
God.
outside.
Of your house?
Yeah, she started locking her outside. That's how bad it was.
So can I ask, what did this do for your relationship with your mom? Because it's like, I can't imagine, like, you just have one other sister, right?
Yeah.
So how would you say that this impacted you and your sister's relationship with your mom? Because I'm sure there would have been some aspects of resentment. Your relationship wouldn't have gone that well when you guys, this is your mother, this is the person that's supposed to provide security for you, and you guys are seeing her agree with whatever, all this abusive stuff. Of course, she's not seeing it as abuse, but it really is abuse. And she's agreeing with all this stuff that these cult members are these rules. How did that impact your relationship with your mom?
Actually, I grew up I loved my mom, but like, I grew up not liking her.
Yeah.
Like, even, like, it comes to a point where, like, I didn't like her enough to say that was my mom. Like, we would go to school and it would be hard for me to say that's my mom. I'd rather claim my other daycare as my mother. Like, it got to a point where, like, I was like, I drowned, I'm in hospital, I don't want my mom, I want my sister. So I was more closer to my sister because my sister was more
You guys had
there
a
for
shared
me.
experience.
Yeah. She was there for me and she treated me like a kid. She treated me normal. and mom just treated me like how everybody in the cult treated me, and I never liked it. As
my
much
God.
as she loved me and she used to like do the nicest things, buy me whatever I want, but you can buy someone whatever they want, but it's about like,
So your mom was able to do all like the materialistic things,
Yeah.
and like the materialistic things and the bare minimum,
Yeah.
provide you with food, safety,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
security in a house. Obviously not security, damn, but it's
Yeah.
like, you know, like you felt like she wasn't there to protect you, and so it's like she essentially lost your sense of security. And I guess it's like it's in those little moments, like when you had explained like being beat up by the cult members, and you're looking at your mom and she couldn't even look at you in the eye, because essentially what that is for a child, your mom is your first safe space. That is your security, you know what I mean? And so it's like in those moments when you had needed her the most, you kind of felt like she wasn't there for you. And I guess because you and your sister had a shared experience,
Yeah.
it was a lot easier for you to call your sister. And the fact that it was like you were in a moment where you damn near died,
yeah,
and you wanted your sister to be there. You didn't even want your mom to be there.
yeah.
Did she ever feel? Did she ever start to feel like the church was destroying the relationship with you guys, or she never saw it that way?
I think she definitely felt it sometimes. Like she will break down crying, and then sometimes she treats me so good. Like she treats me so good, but it just changes. Like it's
In an instant.
Yeah, in an instant.
Because she's
it
completely
changes.
convinced
Yeah.
by the cult.
Yeah, they'll convince her.
And it's like, I know you had also explained to me that there was a time in your life where like your mom thought that you were a witch.
Oh yes.
So what was this about?
You know, if
It's not funny, but damn.
you see, I was the first member to leave the cult.
Oh man,
yeah.
you were getting eaten alive for sure.
And I was only 16. I was 16.
So you rebelled like
I
nobody's
rebelled
business.
because I've always been that kid that just. I've always known myself. I knew I was that kid that was different. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't like the rest. The rest would obey and do this. I wasn't the type. Like I started rebelling within the cult. Like
You were a problem.
yeah, like I was a problem. I started clocking stuff because I was like, you know what? I don't want to live this life. Period. Like point blank.
And so what led your mom to think you're a witch? Or is this like another practice that you all had in the church, or what was it?
They started thinking I was a witch because I left. Do you get what I mean? I left, and then they prophesized all these things that I was doing.
So the prophecies in the church were added again. They said
They were doing that stuff, and then they tried to get me back. I was like, no, please. I got whacked, but I was like, no, I'm not returning back.
Oh,
to that
so you
church.
got beat up to join
Yeah.
the church, but you were like, nah.
Nah, I can't do this. Yeah.
Oh my God. That is like insane. And so they thought that you were a witch. And how did
Yeah.
your mom treat you at home because she thought you were a witch?
She would treat me the worst treatment. She would chuck away all my things. She would throw everything. If I was to bring friends over, she would get mad at them. Like everything was the worst. Like I used to have to run away from home. Like all the time. Like I would just run away and stay at my friend's house. And then she'll call me, she wants me back, she's feeling sad. I'll come back, and then in a few days, it's back to normal. And then I'll have to run away again.
So you were just constantly running away from
And then
home.
they'll tell her, oh, your daughter's a witch. She flies at night. We saw her.
Flies and
Yeah.
Flies
she
at night?
Yeah, she flies at night. She's in the trees. She's a bird. And I would be awake.
A
and
bird?
Yeah, they'll say that I'm a bird. And I'm just sitting there on my bed and I'm like,
I'm so sorry. A bird?
yeah. They'll say I'm a crow. I'll just sit there. I'll sit there in my bed like,
A bird.
I'm thinking, how can I be a crow? Do you get what I mean?
How old are you at this point?
I'm the age of like 16.
And your mom is your mom treating you like you're a witch?
Yeah, she's treating me like, she's like, don't touch my stuff. Don't do this. Don't open the fridge. Because she thinks that I'm a witch. And
As in like a bird that flies at night.
exactly, a bird that flies. Apparently, I go and hang out with celebrities because I was doing music at the time.
Yeah.
They'd be like, I'm Freemason, Illuminati has gotten me. And I'm just sitting there like, mate, even Brisbane Council's working with me, sorry. Brisbane City Council's working with me at that time. So I'm like, oh, well,
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that must be a lot. I feel like you had gone through so much. It got to a point where you're just like, damn, I just don't care.
even this one time they said she's going to die in a year.
A year?
Yeah, I was
So they were even predicting your death?
Yeah, my death. I was panicking up front, and then I clocked, and I was like, you know what? I should just die. So I continued with life. I was like, I might as well die with me doing what I want to do. So
But I feel like you had gone through so much
Yeah.
until you just couldn't anymore. Before you had left, what was it that like I can't do this anymore? Like, no matter what was the moment that you felt like, I have to get out no matter what?
She called me a whore. I remember that day. She called me a whore. She said I was useless in life and I was a curse. And after that, I dropped everything. I had a whole plan from the start. It just needed like a moment.
That was a cherry on top.
That was a cherry on top. I cried. I packed my things. I went to my friend's house. We went out to a party. And I never came back for 3 days. I was living my life. Oh my God. I was getting turned with my friends or living the life. They put a police report too. I had to go visit the police.
Oh my God. So it was just like, nah, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I actually want to be a normal teenager.
I had so much fun. I left, mind you, the calls, they're all thinking, where did she go? Where did she go? I think my cousins knew that I was...
Yeah. So they're trying to get you back.
Yeah, no, they didn't try. It was the members.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So they were all watching me do all these things. I was like...
And were you posting this?
Yeah, yeah, they had my Instagram too. I had Instagram.
So you were just like, you know what? It is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
at this point, I don't care.
I got Instagram. Ever since I hit high school, I got Instagram. They even tried to get me to delete my Instagram, delete my Snapchat. I said, hell no. I kept it on
They
the
were
low.
so invested.
Yeah.
It seemed like this cult was like, the church was, you guys were like a family unit. So
Yeah.
everything that happens in your house, the congregation needed to know. You guys had no security and no, like, nothing was private. Everything was in front of the congregation.
Yeah, in front.
Oh my God.
Center. In middle.
That's
Yeah.
insane. Okay, so I know that like culture and community pressure, like the pressure to belong, is a very big aspect of what like leads the older generation to these cults, you know?
Yeah.
The sense of the community, especially the ones in the diaspora, you know? How did the African culture of respecting elders make it harder to say no? I know that's like in African culture, we have this this view of like, you must respect your elders. And I would say we're actually quite sexist, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
especially males, like a lot of like the males are usually the priority. So older males needed to be respected. How do you feel like that cultural concept made it harder to say no to a lot of things? Do you feel like that played a role, like our culture?
It did play a role, especially when I was little.
Yeah.
And I had no say in no's. So like, you know, you just had to obey them. Like it was something that you had to do to kind of impress everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's really a lot. And I know that you had obviously explained like your essay, and I genuinely feel like that was very traumatic. Would you say that was like the most traumatic experience that you had in that cult?
Yeah, and the essay didn't just stop at the molesting part.
So when you guys had gotten caught, they've now done a whole humiliation ritual in front of the congregation members, stripped you naked. You literally got beat up.
Yeah.
They put chili in your eyes. The essay continued.
Yeah.
After that.
It continued. It didn't stop. We had 2 sessions. So the first session with the chili in my eyes, my cousin wasn't there. They were yet to come to Australia. So the second session, she was there. So that's when they got all of us and beat us.
Was this
her.
one perpetrator? Was this one person that was doing this essay?
Yeah, it was 2 of them.
And so after you got caught, and obviously like they see now that I can kind of get away with this.
Yeah, they did it again.
With your other cousin that had come from Africa.
They did it to her and they did it to me the second and third time. Like it didn't just stop there.
And then did you guys get caught again?
Yep.
And how was that? What happened now after that?
And I'll get to that. When they were like, I would say they were 14, 15, doing stuff like that. I don't remember the age that well, but yeah. So I knew it was wrong, but they would say, oh, I'm going to tell on you that you did this.
That you instigated it, that you started it.
Yeah, they would just make up some stuff. Oh, I'm going to tell them that you did this. So
And of course you have the fear because you've been caught before and like...
Yeah, and I knew they favored men.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have to do it because like they're going to end up telling them
Also, they were
anyways.
blackmailing you
Yeah.
to do stuff with them.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So that's how it kept continuing. I didn't want to do it, but they would say things like that.
And essentially the the abuse tactic would be the same thing. You guys would be brought in front of the congregation members,
Yep.
stripped naked, beat up. The
Yes.
victims would be pretty much a slap on the wrist and allowed to
Slap
get
on the
away.
wrist, yeah.
And then they would just continue because
Yeah, they will continue. Yeah. Because favors men. Like men.
do you feel like those victims, because obviously like I'm not justifying it, obviously
Yeah.
what they did was wrong, but because you said that they were in their early teens,
Yeah.
they're still categorized as kids. Do you feel like they were victims themselves? That they must have experienced some type of essay from adults as well?
I'm not too sure about that, but they are teens and they are in high school. So like they learn things from different kids or learn things from different places. They have friends that probably watch all those explicit
And you know what? They've also
Yeah.
been like, what it is as well is like these sexualized behaviors that they were
Yeah.
displaying and doing to you guys, they learned earlier on in life that they could get away with it.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they didn't feel like they had consequence, or they didn't feel like the consequence was big enough for them not to repeat it.
Yeah, it wasn't big enough. It was like 3 to 4 beats and then they're gone.
And then, but you guys are stripped naked.
Yeah. And they're men, so those they could put up with it. Like simple. Like they could put up with it. Lay down, get them, sit.
But you guys would go through a whole thing of,
Oh yeah. Stripped naked, whipped, tied up to a bed. It was
is
crazy.
this a church?
It's a cult. Yeah, a cult.
Oh my God, I'm really sorry that happened. Like, it's
No, it's
very
okay.
crazy.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of like your leaving and recovery, I know that you said that's like one day you got into a fight with your mom.
Yeah.
And you decided, you know what, I can't do it anymore. And you ultimately rebelled.
Yeah.
You were like, you know what, like, you know, I'm going to start living my truth.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is at this point. What was the hardest part of relearning how to think of yourself in religion? Because when something that happens to you, it is so traumatic. That's an experience that doesn't just leave you when you leave the cult. You
Yeah.
live with that experience for the rest of your life. You know, you can go to therapy and you can heal, but it genuinely does change the chemistry of your brain.
Yeah.
So how was that like when you left, relearning yourself and religion, and how you actually felt about yourself?
I had to self-teach myself. That's how I've lived life. Self-teach myself. I had to teach myself confidence. I had to teach myself strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had to teach myself. Like, I didn't have anyone to go to speak. I didn't want to go speak to someone because it just felt like too much in my head.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I know, like, of course, like, when you had left that cult and stuff, you ended up having a kid. And,
Yeah.
you know, would you say that's, like, maybe, like, because of the lifestyle that you were living, you obviously, you rebelled, you left that
Yeah.
cult, and then you were experiencing life. And this is what this is what people don't understand, and a lot of, like, immigrant parents is, like, when you control a child too much, whether it be a cult or just in general, kids don't learn the social cues of being a normal teenager. You know, they don't navigate life, right? And so when they get that opportunity of freedom, they take it and they run. Would you say, like, you having a child that early in your life, would you say that it was because you were rebelling?
No. It's because I would say I've always needed love. Like, I've never felt loved enough.
Yeah.
So when I got into the relationship, I received this kind of love that I've never received. Someone who cares for me more than my sister did at that moment of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they cared more than my mum did and my sister. Like, it's a different love, you know.
So you felt a sense of love that you
Yeah.
hadn't have felt pretty much throughout your life
Yeah.
until that moment, and you felt like this was the right person
Yeah.
to build with as young as you were at that time.
I feel like because he treated me so good, everything I wanted he got for me. If I was upset, he would make sure I'm straight. Like, he would make sure that I'm good.
Yeah, he provided security that you never had before or never experienced.
And even if I needed a place to stay, he would provide everything. He even got me my phone. Like, I had no phone. He made sure to get me a phone. In like the first day we started dating, like, he made sure I had a phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. And I know that music is a big part for you.
Yeah.
As you guys know, Ari is a rapper.
Ari.
Yes. And so how would you say that that music has played like a big role in your life and your journey of like healing? What would you say the music, because I know you said that music has been an instrument for you
Yeah.
to express yourself. So can you get into that?
Yeah, music has been the best thing. Like, I love writing about my life and I love singing it, and a lot of my music is positivity, and I love to make the negative into positive through music. So
So would you say you use your music as an instrument to heal and
to heal.
to spread love?
Yeah, to spread
something that you
love.
never felt like you had experienced at the time.
yeah, like before I write music, I'll have a brief moment where I'm just like thinking about everything I went through, and now I'm making music that is like empowering me.
Yeah.
like so alive.
So you feel like your
Yeah.
music is essentially a liberation, and I know
Yeah.
like for the cult, they're like, oh my god, Illuminati famous.
Illuminati. They thought I had to tell my mom once, if I was in the Illuminati, Freemason, you know the devil gives you whatever you want.
Yeah.
Why I would have everything I want. Like, let's
Yeah.
be for real. Like, you think I'm that
You
dumb?
would milk that situation.
I would milk it. I would make sure I'm driving a Lamborghini to the house.
No, it'd be like that. Okay, so
Yeah.
what is your message to people that are in cults and in similar things? What is a message that you want to put out there for them?
Get out. Get out. Get out.
Yeah, I think, for me personally,
Yeah.
when I was in a cult, I remember somebody that I was friends with at the time went to a cult specialist, and one thing that they said is that once there's one aspect of doubt, it will almost sprout. Once you
Yeah.
plant a seed of doubt, I think you should believe in your intuition. And I'm not gonna obviously I know that it's a lot harder, than said, like how we're saying it, and especially when it's like the people that are in the cult are your direct family members. Leaving can almost feel impossible.
Yeah.
But if you feel that sense of feeling trapped, you should leave, and you should
Yeah, you
genuinely
should leave.
and trust your intuition,
Yeah.
like what your heart's telling you. And when you are experiencing things that are morally wrong and stuff, and they really push this narrative of like, don't speak to other people. But honestly, biblically speaking, for people that are like obviously like Christian, Catholic and stuff, discernment is so important, and we know that that's something that is used in the Bible.
Yeah.
Discernment is so important. You must go out there and seek whether this is the truth or not, and that doesn't need to be from the people that are in that aspect of abuse with you externally, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
when it starts to feel like, if like you're a young kid and it feels like, your mother is in this and you can't, there's so many mental health, companies that you can speak to, reach out to. And unfortunately, we're so lucky that, we're in the Western world where we have resources to so many places that actually can help us. Don't be scared to reach out. And for people that are actually genuinely going through our cults, I'm always happy. You can always email us and we can, discuss, the processes, because it really isn't an easy thing, and it does ruin people's perception of God. A lot of people leave these cults and they become atheists. They don't believe in God anymore. It quite literally changes the whole concept of what God is. And do you feel like that you felt that as well?
Yeah. And I also want to touch base where you said, there's support out there. Let me tell you something. There's so much support systems out there. Like today, let's say if I got into a fight and said, I just want to go to Darwin, for example, or I want to go to Adelaide. And you're probably thinking, oh, I'm not going to have a place to stay. I'm not going to have this. I'm telling you, if you reach out, they will accommodate you.
There's a lot of services, human services that are put in place to help, especially if you're a child that is obviously like experiencing a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Now, Amari, thank you so much for being on the show. My last question for you today is, where do you stand with your spirituality?
Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. All I believe in is manifestation. How do you say?
Manifestation.
Manifestation. Oh my God.
Do you believe that there's a God out there?
I do believe that there's a God out there. I'm not going to lie. But I somehow believe that we're puppets. Like we're playing this big movie and there's no free will. There's no free will because everything is known. Like I hate when I go to Christians and they tell me, you have free will.
Yeah.
There's free will to do this and this. The Bible says that God knows everything from the beginning to the end. How is that free will? He knows every step. He knows if I'm going to change my yes to a no. So there's not free will. It's like we're puppets playing what he wants. We're doing what he wants because he knows. He knows the beginning and the end. He's the Alpha, the Omega.
Yeah.
So I don't know where to stand because...
And are you interested in looking, or you don't really want a religious life anymore?
I don't want to live a religious life. It's just... it just makes you this evil person with a pretty face, like this most evil judgmental person with just a beautiful face.
Okay.
So you live to judge people. You live, oh, you're bad, or you're going to hell. There's a chapter in Romans that actually says to even say that someone's going to hell is a sin
In itself.
in itself.
Yeah.
So like to say someone's going to have this consequence is a sin.
Yeah. I understand. And
Yeah.
obviously, like, after everything that you've experienced, it's
Yeah.
very valid to view things that way. You know what I mean? Thank you guys so much for today's episode.
you.
I would also just like to give a shout out to Amari and appreciate her. You guys
Yeah.
follow her on her social media accounts.
Follow me, guys.
And also, I also just want to say for the people and the viewers that are watching out there, this is her story and this is her experience. And I don't want anybody to invalidate it, because unfortunately, there's actually people out there who are living these experiences, and it's not your choice to dictate how someone should or shouldn't feel about a lived experience, you know? So thank you so much for sharing this.
No, it's okay.
And we will put different health services and different mental health services that can that can help you if you're experiencing any of these things. Thank you guys for staying
Thank
tuned with
you.
THI. See you guys in our next episode. Mwah.